Welcome to another edition of Hames Hot Mic. Today we're switching gears a bit and we're going to focus on downtown Chilliwack and maybe some rock and roll. After this quick message from our sponsor, Simpson Notaries, we'll be right back with my guest, Trevor McDonald. Trevor McDonald grew up in Chilliwack, and after graduation, he spent the next almost 40 years connected to the music and entertainment industry, managing and booking venues and performing his solo show, oftentimes 300 times a year. Over the past decade, he's also become a successful radio personality, hosting a weekly show on our own 89.5. He's a hardworking volunteer for all kinds of organizations, especially arts-related enterprises, including Community Arts Council of Chilliwack, Public Art Committee for the City, and the Chilliwack Heritage Festival Board. In 2017, he was awarded a Paul Harris Fellowship from the Chilliwack Rotary Club and, most prestigiously, Stan Rogers Legacy Award from the Chamber of Commerce in 2018 for his contributions to the community, and I couldn't be happier to have Trevor as my guest today because his newest adventure is that he's accepted the position of Executive Director of Chilliwack's Downtown Business Improvement Association and hopes, I'm sure, to bring his experience and background in marketing and promotions to the BIA. Welcome, Trevor. It's great to have you here.
My pleasure, Clint. Thank you for doing this.
Hey, you're welcome. Listen, what inspired this incredible change of, not really a change in direction because it's still promotion and marketing and all of that, but what inspired you to get a real job?
Well, you know, the funny thing to me, I was thinking about it on my way up to talk with you, is here I am, the rock and roller who got a day job, and you're the guy with the day job who became the rock and roller. So we've switched positions, and I'm really okay with that, you know. So I just have to say timing, the timing for this position becoming open and just me being, frankly, mature enough and ready enough to settle down and do a 9 to 5 and really, you know, really just focus on one thing instead of the multiple things I've worked on for years.
So that's not to say that the multiple things that you do are falling by the wayside. When, of course, this pandemic is over, I'm sure we'll see Trevor McDonald performing again and doing those sorts of things.
Most definitely. I'm going to still do some gigs, a lot of charity gigs. I think the thing is, as you know, that I often give my shows away for different charities for fundraisers, and this will just make them more valuable because I don't play as much anymore. So those of you out there looking to book something and maybe send a little money to the Bowls of Hope, something like that. Anyway, this just gives me a chance to kind of make it a little more special and maybe get some time to you know, book a Judy Tuesday gig in the future.
Well, so what the BIA thing, what inspired you to kind of say, that's something I think I could really make a difference at? What about that job has inspired you?
Well, let me tell you, I honestly was a little bit intimidated and afraid of the process when I first looked at the opportunity. I didn't think, quite frankly, that I was suited for the gig, and it was a pretty rigorous process of interviews. It was 4 interviews. I just started, I mean, I've always been a big flag waver for downtown Chilliwack. I've always been a flag waver for Chilliwack as a community, but downtown, because I grew up there, I bought my first house 6 blocks away from where I work right now. I mean, that was my job interview, was telling everybody basically my whole life story revolving 10 blocks around the downtown. So I've always been a flag waver, and I just think the connections that I have with the city, and the different relationships that I've been able to form over the years, this job was a no-brainer, and I've loved every minute of it. I'm honestly only in my third week right now, but I love every minute of it.
Well, I think the Downtown Business Improvement Association was created when I was still involved politically in the community, and I know that at the time there seemed to be a number of different pushes and pulls downtown about where this should all go. There's a group that wants this BIA to focus on, well, let's promote downtown Chilliwack to bring more customers in the doors, and there's other people say, well, I think we ought to do special events because that's going to bring people in. There's another group that says, no, we got to focus on physical enhancements downtown, and that's really what's going to bring people through the doors and get people down there. Are you feeling that sense of kind of tugging in different directions, or is the BIA really beginning to kind of focus in on one direction and move that way?
Well, let me speak to a few things there. It's a lot of stuff to cover. But honestly, one thing I can say is I've seen a lot of the different board of directors that have been involved with the BIA. I've worked with the BIA for years. Back, in fact, when you were involved as well, as an outsider looking in, and I can say, I'm blessed really because they're an outstanding board of directors, great executive, great people on the committees. Everybody is dedicated to uniting the downtown. With this beautiful new 3-acre District 1881 with the Alger brothers, you have a choice either to, be threatened by it or engage it and join it and join this beautiful movement. And everybody seems to have come on board with this is a really positive thing for downtown Chilliwack. So the mandate for me, quite simply, is putting bodies in businesses and finding ways to do that creatively. And I think we have an incredible board of directors. Like I said, our committees are very strong, and the businesses are all, now more than ever, maybe because of COVID, are learning how to really work together and create one solid product. My biggest mission, quite frankly, is to kind of lose the A and B versions of the BIA. For those of you who don't know, there's an A sector and a B sector based on where you are in conjunction to Five Corners. I think it's all the same. I think we just need one A, and everybody gets the same amount of attention, the same amount of focus from someone out on Railway Avenue as right down in the heart of downtown. So, in answer to your questions, my focus is to put bodies in buildings, and we're doing it together. So I'm really thrilled.
That's great to hear. For those that are watching that might not know how the BIA works, it's an area that is self-described. The businesses get to say, here's the boundary, and they all agree to pay a little bit extra on their taxes in order to give the Business Improvement Association a budget, and that money that then gets spent on specifically in the downtown area. And it's worked pretty well. When is I recall that there's a process they have to go through every certain number of years. Is that a renewal? What's the stretch of time in there?
5-year increments, and I think that the last one they did was 2019, so I'm okay for a while.
So you got a while to kind of move things forward. I know it's too early in this whole COVID thing to talk about public events, but
right.
I'm sure people that are watching this are going to say, I hope he asks them about Party in the Park and what the plans are. Is there any thoughts that we might be doing something like that this year, or are we going to have to wait and see?
It's honestly a question I get every day, and I can say sincerely that we're looking at options right now because of COVID. If any of you had a chance to check out the Art Walk, I was involved with a great thing with the Chilliwack Arts Council, with the Art Walk along the Vedder River, trying to create distractions, not attractions. There's a fine gray area there where we want to create a space, a celebration, but not have an attraction. And it's finding that gray area is difficult to manage right now, but my fingers are crossed that we can move towards some events as we move. I'd like to think into the downside of this COVID situation. So again, my fingers are crossed. You know me, that events are my thing. I will say the focus for me right now with the BIA is on the businesses downtown, and again, bringing bodies to downtown. For me, important to note so many people up on Promontory and over on the other side of Chilliwack that haven't made a trip down to downtown Chilliwack, maybe sometimes, in some cases, ever. I just encourage you to come down and take a drive downtown. There's some incredible, great things happening. And in the future, I'm hoping we can add a Party in the Park or a Village Classic Car Show to that. So
yes, there's some amazing redevelopment, and you mentioned the Alger brothers that have been a part of that downtown. That was a process that the city undertook to find a partner to work with down there, and I know the Alger brothers work very well from living in a neighborhood that they had a huge amount to do with, and it's first class all the way, as is the development down there. It seems to be really working. There's quite a buzz, and everybody that I talk to says, hey, have you been to the yet? So some of those businesses that are first in that are offering restaurants and things like that, it seems like they're doing really, really well. Is that the feedback you're getting?
Well, honestly, Clint, I don't need feedback. I walk the streets of Chilliwack every day. I literally I'm kind of obsessive about the downtown, and I've been doing this to note, as a lot of people who know me know, I've been walking those streets for a long time, well before this job. And so for me, there's the most beautiful thing about it to me is the buzz about downtown, and it's really only about an 8-building stretch that has been developed, and already the buzz that's happening, and already, and I'm talking about offshoot business too. For we talk about District 1881, but let's not forget the longtime businesses on Wellington, Mary, Amber. I could think of 100 of them down there. Lolly's, Ron and Kevin from Harvest. These people are also receiving that great shot in the arm as well, and they are now stepping up to the table and saying, okay, we like what's going on. Yeah. We're going to pull it up as well. We're now going to, tell people that there's lots of things going on in District A or District B or however they want to word it. I'm just so excited that it's such a contagious energy. It's such a contagious positive energy in a world of so many negatives pointed at the downtown. This is definitely a positive, and I don't even need to try and sell it. I know that great things are happening downtown. So.
Well, I think that there's so much potential as well, because we've taken that one block, as you said, that is really redeveloped. It's encouraging other areas to begin to invest and redevelop as well. And there's other properties in the downtown, some of them sitting vacant, and I had a chance to talk with our good friend Mayor Popov on this show and ask him about the Safeway property, because that is another great opportunity. And have you had a chance to begin to look at what might be farther out in terms of redevelopment in the downtown?
Well, you know me, I'm a little bit, I've been once I knew that this job was a possibility, I went and started kind of digging the dirt anyway. But the possibilities are endless downtown. I have made it a point to go out and meet as many landlords, business owners downtown as I can. And in just a short time, I've already met a ton. The good news is that the landlords and business owners are so enthusiastic about, there's no fight there in if some buildings need repair and they're in a state of, frankly, they need their onyx fixed or anything like that, they're ready to jump on board. How can we be a part of this excitement? And the most recent example is just this afternoon, I talked with a wonderful gentleman, Nima, who just purchased the old Phillips building, which you're familiar with, on the corner of Nowell and Yale. Legendary downtown building. And nice to see him so excited about joining into the same fire that 1881 did, where he wants to use the old existing stuff in there and bring it back to its glory versus trying to redefine the property. I think it's so cool. That's just one example. So
yeah, I think there's so many examples like that. I mean, we're in some ways so fortunate that such a lot of that heritage value still exists in the downtown, and we can take advantage of it. Some of the buildings that, of course, were torn down, didn't have the same level of value, but a lot of the storefronts had been protected, and so I think that's really a positive way forward. There's also the old Eaton's building, as I call it. I mean, lots of people might know it as a bowling alley, but that's another opportunity that's waiting out there, and I hope that there are aspects of that can be looked at as well.
Well, you're very familiar, Clint, with of course what SEPCO has done downtown with Brian Coombs and the team there, and I mean, Brian I love because we're kind of both along the same slate of brain, and we are nerdy about old-time Chilliwack and about its potential to restore it back to its glory days. You see in all the old black and white pictures, we'll walk and talk quite a bit looking at historic buildings. What I love right now is that Alger Brothers has taken the template and it's worked. And so the easiest way to sell something is watching someone else do it, and it's a success. So now following Alger Brothers' template, you're going to see a lot more of that downtown, and I think you're going to see a faster finish to a lot more of the products going on.
Yeah, I agree. It's always nice to not be the first one in, and Alger's were the first one in, and of course they had a great partnership with the city and SEPCO and others to get in there and make it successful. Now others should follow along in that path, and that's pretty exciting to me. As you got into the job, I mean, you've been there 3 weeks, so I appreciate that you're not going to have all these answers. But when you got into the job, what is some of the things that you came in there and you went, I didn't know this was going to be as big an issue as it is, or that you got in there and went, wow, I had no idea this much was going on? Has there been any? What are the surprises, I guess, is what I'm asking.
All of the above. Actually, that's a great question. All of the above. Like I said, here's why I really wanted the job in the end, is because of the rigorous interview process, which was, for me, I'm a pretty social guy, but it was a pretty intimidating process. It was 4 interviews done by a volunteer board. It just showed the level of commitment that they took into finding the right person to do this job. And that showed me right away that's something that I want to be a part of. That was a great starting block for me, a little bit of rebar, but honestly, everybody who's reached out, from the thousands of people on Facebook and on social media who sent positive notes of encouragement, to city staff that maybe I haven't talked to in 10 or 15 years, a lot of which reached out immediately and said anything we can do to help your process. Of course, the mayor, SEPCO, Chamber of Commerce, so many people. So that was the biggest surprise to me, was because I've always kind of been a one-man show, to be able to have all these people at your disposal, and that they've openly welcomed me into the fold, and it's just going to help the process. It's going to fast track so much stuff. And
everybody wins if you're successful at your job.
Indeed, yeah.
And so I think we're all hoping for greater things, because I think some of the stuff that's happened in the last few years has certainly been amazing and wonderful. You can look at that and say, wow, we've got a really good start on things. Yeah, of interest, one of the folks I talked to on the show hasn't aired yet, but probably will by the time this one airs, was the Mayor of Abbotsford, Henry Braun, who's an old friend, and I talked with him about what was the secret in downtown Abbotsford, because they've really done a good job. And he says, hey, look, we had some commitment from a few folks initially who said, I believe in this and we're going to make it work. And I feel like that's the same thing that's happened with the Alger brothers coming in, and that becomes a catalyst for more and more things happening.
Alger, of course, very important in downtown Abbotsford's development as well, with the work that they did down there. Henry, I think, I feel blessed to kind of have this job now. I feel like I've been dropped like that little green Google Street Map guy right downtown at the perfect time. And I said in my job interview, I said, I'm the perfect guy for this job at the perfect time. So huge kudos to all the EDs in the past who saw it through the darkest times. And I mean that sincerely when I say I could look out my radio station window and see no development. And quite frankly, just a city full of in need of desperate repair. And I go back to Clint, to when we did the Chilliwack Senior Secondary 50-year reunion, and I was trying to put bus tours through the city to show the old folks that were back visiting Chilliwack all the landmarks of the past. And we looked at boarded up windows, and we looked at a half. Oh, it doesn't matter. But my point is now I would be so proud to take everybody through downtown. I feel lucky to be here now that I'm here.
Yeah, things are really moving along. Trevor, we're going to take just a quick break, and we'll be back in just a minute after these messages with Trevor McDonald. Welcome back, everyone. I'm here with Trevor McDonald. We're talking about all things downtown with Trevor, as he is the new executive director for the Downtown Business Improvement Association, a job that I'm convinced he was made for. And I think this is going to be a great time for Chilliwack. Now, Trevor, you had talked about going and meeting with as many landlords and business owners as you could.
Yep.
What are you hearing from them? What are they talking about? What are the things they want you to get on?
Positivity, communication is the biggest thing. I think that over the course of time, some channels got a little bit plugged between a merchant and access to the Business Improvement Association and to the city, in fact. And so just unclogging those communication lines. And also, I think the mandate to be talked about as far as downtown goes is to make sure that the business owners that we have there and prospective business owners coming into town have a passionate interest in the downtown, in the fact that we don't. For me personally, I don't want to see absentee landlords. I don't want to see acquisitions and no passion. I would love to see, in my dream scenario, that someone came in. Again, I go back to talking with Nami, who owns the old Phillips building, someone who comes in and has a vision for it and is committed to it. So I think everybody I've talked to so far, maybe I'm just being a bit naive, but everybody seems to be really on board with improving and change.
I hear there's a tire guy over on Alexander Avenue that's
trouble.
a bit trouble to get along with, but
Yeah, he's trouble. He's
other than that, things should go pretty well for you downtown. A bit of a serious subject, and it's one that's near and dear to my heart with the downtown, and that is that there are some issues in the downtown with folks who struggle with homelessness, folks who struggle with mental health and addictions challenges. And I know, having done some work with the city on that particular issue, that still represents a big challenge for the BIA. What are you hearing about that challenge? Is there anything the BIA thinks about doing differently in that particular
Do you know,
area?
here's the problem. I mean, gosh, it's hard to, it's such a big subject to talk about. I'd love to come on and do another hot mic just about that. But for me personally, obviously it's tragic what happens in any downtown, in so many of the downtowns. And ours, because of the services that we offer, it seems to be a little more condensed. I can say this just without a BIA tag behind me, just as a human being doing a little bit of investigating. I can say, in my heart anyway, I feel like the city is doing the best job it can with the situation, and it's you learn every day, right? It's nobody has the magic fix for this, but I think the city's done a good job with working towards providing services, moving the portal. There's things like that. There's issues that are coming up, but there's a process, and I think that once people get on the other side of it, that it's not like it's being ignored. It's that there's a process, and the process is the time it takes to get the approvals and to get those processes turned into something solid. So I can't answer that question for the city. I can't answer it for the BIA. I can answer it as me, a human being. Obviously, I am always going to be open to ideas and open to support in any way I can. I have spoken with some wonderful people downtown, some presidents of different stratas, working above and beyond the BIA umbrella to try and merge everyone together, not just businesses. And that's what's important, Clint, is the BIA, yes, it's about business, but it's about the surrounding area. It's about a safe, kind of united belief that we're all going to be better. I always sound like I'm putting this soft pillow on things, and I'm not trying to, but it's going to be hard to knock the positive out of me, even with a situation like that, because I do know that people are working incredibly hard to make a difference. We might not see it right away, but I'm hoping we see it soon.
Well, I think everybody wants the same thing. They want a place where they feel safe and that they can, and I'm not just talking about people who live there, I'm talking about the people who are challenged with things like having a mental illness and needing someplace affordable to live, or somebody with an addiction challenge that they're dealing with. Those people have to be safe as well. And I think that sometimes there's a large group of people that get all lumped into one that says this is a problem because these are the people that are making things unsafe, and it's really, in my mind, just a small group that represents any kind of risk, and the rest are people that are just trying to make their way in a very challenging world. And the world keeps getting more and more challenging. We talked before the show about house pricing and affordability, and that's got to be an issue too. So a lot of what I hope the BIA is looking at is not just business, as you said. We've got to get people living down there, and we've got to make it affordable for people, and it's got to be a place people want to live. So I hope that that'll be part of the strategy as well.
Me, again, I'm not a schooled business strategist. I do know that without people, your businesses don't work. So if you're going to build a bunch of non-residential situations down there, your downtown is empty again. So putting these housing specs in place, having immediate bodies right downtown to visit the shops, to go to the restaurants, to go to the grocery stores, that's what we need, and they are working on doing that. But going back to the stigma that you mentioned, you're right. To ball everything into one situation, you're absolutely correct. To me personally, it's always been about education and knowledge. And I mean, even if it takes me doing quick videos in the downtown, I'm happy to do that. I'm always open to suggestions, and it's Trevor at downtownchilliwack.com. Always open to talk about stuff like that. It is not my wheelhouse, but I do have great avenues to channel your questions to. I just think that if people are a little more educated, about the different sicknesses and addictions.
Yeah, and I think you're quite right, because I think there is a bit of a misunderstanding. There's a kind of a negative image juxtaposition that happens when people say, well, somebody who's been involved in criminal activity is also addicted to a substance, that therefore anybody addicted to a substance is also a criminal. And I think that tends to happen. Everybody gets lumped in together. And I think a lot of the work that I've been doing with the city on the public safety plan talks about the stigma that's attached to having a mental illness or to having some sort of addiction. And so we'll be working on that together. Look, I know we've got just a couple of minutes left, and I want to tell you the best thing that I think about the downtown. And I think one of the best things about the downtown is Harold Zilke.
Without question.
And
I was hoping you were going to bring him up.
I think I've known Harold a long time, and for him to get that job and for him to keep the job, that I think it's just remarkable the network that he's been able to develop in the downtown. I don't think there's anybody who doesn't know him, and I have to say that I think he is the best ambassador I've ever seen for any downtown anywhere, and he needs a raise. So I told him I would tell you that too.
Well, I'll tell you what, he has also told me that. So you did. Yeah. He doesn't need an agent. Harold knows how to work his own papers. But let me tell you what, sincerely for Harold, he's been away from work for a few weeks here and coming back shortly. But I get a phone call from him once a day, and I did the coolest thing just today was FaceTimed him at the house and brought him around the office to say hi. No question about it. We are blessed as a city to have the ultimate, just the ultimate ambassador. And we always say the unofficial mayor of Chilliwack, but he's a gem. And the beautiful thing about it is how people have stepped up. Always just, the question I get is not how the job's going. It's how is Harold doing? Say hi to Harold for me. Do you know? So Harold, you're watching. I know you are. So, buddy, this is big cheers to you, buddy. And I think you might have talked yourself into a raise. Well, listen, I'll tell you one thing, that there is only one person more positive about the projections for the downtown than you, and that would be Harold. I think that he's a pretty remarkable man. And for those that aren't aware, Harold, and I think everybody in Chilliwack knows Harold, but he had a little medical procedure done, and he's going to be back at work real soon. And so we're sending out the best to you, Harold. Working too hard, he was working a little bit too hard, and he strained himself. And like I said, wishing him a quick recovery. I talk to him every day. He's solid as a rock, and is honestly, I have to hold him back from coming back to work. So tell me, we'll just finish up. Tell me, who have you got helping you at the BIA now? Who are the people that are there working with you on some of the projects that are there? Well, let me tell you, there's a guy named Trevor McDonald. And then there's another guy on the back desk named Trevor McDonald. And no, it's really right now it's myself. I'm in the office, but we do have another employee coming in as of May 1st. Oh, awesome. To give me a little help in the office and to hang around. But I will say the way the BIA is geared and moving forward, it's not going to be so much behind the desk. It's going to be out in the BIA umbrella, talking in person to different businesses and really getting feet on the ground and hands in the dirt. That's what I'm all about. So that's awesome news. And I think downtown's in good hands, Trevor. Thanks, Clint. Look, this has been a wonderful time. My guest today has been Trevor McDonald. He is, of course, the new executive director of the Business Improvement Association downtown. And I was delighted to be able to spend some time with him today. As always, if you have ideas for guests or something you'd like to see us pursue on the show, send us an email. Until the next time, I'm Clint Hames, and I hope you'll keep tuning in to Hames Hot Mic.